Introduction. Overview of government spending and societal priorities. The importance of addressing issues related to education, veterans, and homelessness. The report's objective to advocate for a more just and effective allocation of resources. Chapter 1. The current allocation of tax dollars. Introduction to government spending. Government spending is a fundamental aspect of any functioning democracy, where the allocation of tax dollars reflects the priorities of those in power. In the United States, the federal budget is a blueprint for the country's values, highlighting what the government deems essential. Tax dollars, collected from citizens and businesses, are the lifeblood of this budget, funding everything from defense to education, infrastructure, healthcare, and social welfare programs. However, the way these funds are distributed often raises questions about the government's true priorities and whether they align with the needs of the populace. Military spending. A historical perspective. The United States has long been known for its substantial investment in the military. Since World War II, military spending has consistently consumed a significant portion of the federal budget. In 2023, the U.S. defense budget was approximately $858 billion, accounting for nearly half of all discretionary spending. This enormous sum is justified by the need to maintain national security, project power globally, and safeguard the country's interests. Yet, this prioritization often comes at the expense of other critical areas, such as education, healthcare, and social services. This focus on military expenditure can be traced back to the Cold War era, where the threat of communism and the arms race with the Soviet Union necessitated vast military investments. However, even in the post-Cold War era, military spending has remained high, driven by new global threats, the war on terror, and the desire to maintain global dominance. While the importance of a strong military cannot be denied, the disproportionate allocation of resources towards defense raises concerns about what is being neglected in the process. Education and social welfare. The neglected sectors. In contrast to military spending, funding for education and social welfare has often been inadequate. Despite being the foundation of a prosperous and equitable society, education receives only a fraction of the federal budget. In 2023, the U.S. Department of Education was allocated around $79 billion, less than 10% of what was spent on defense. This disparity highlights a troubling trend, the underfunding of a sector that directly impacts the nation's future. Education is not just about individual success, it is about building a skilled workforce, promoting innovation, and ensuring that the country remains competitive on the global stage. Yet, many schools, particularly in low-income areas, struggle with outdated materials, underpaid teachers, and inadequate facilities. This lack of investment in education perpetuates cycles of poverty and inequality, hindering social mobility and economic growth. Similarly, social welfare programs, designed to support the most vulnerable members of society, are often underfunded and undervalued. Programs such as Medicaid, food assistance, and housing subsidies are essential for millions of Americans, yet they face constant threats of budget cuts. The argument is often made that these programs create dependency, but this perspective ignores the reality that they are a lifeline for those who are struggling. The inadequate funding of social welfare programs not only exacerbates poverty and inequality but also increases the long-term costs associated with healthcare, crime, and lost productivity. The economic and social impact of current spending priorities. The current allocation of tax dollars has profound implications for the economy and society as a whole. High military spending, while boosting certain sectors of the economy, particularly defense contractors, can lead to an imbalance where other critical areas are starved of resources. This imbalance can stifle economic growth, as investments in education, infrastructure, and healthcare are essential for long-term prosperity. Moreover, the underfunding of social programs leads to greater economic inequality, as those without access to adequate education, healthcare, and social services are less likely to achieve economic stability. This inequality is not just a moral issue, it is an economic one. When large segments of the population are unable to contribute fully to the economy, it hampers overall growth and leads to increased social tensions. Public opinion in government spending. Public opinion on government spending is often divided, reflecting broader political and ideological differences. Some argue that high military spending is necessary for national security, while others believe that the government should prioritize domestic issues such as education, healthcare, and poverty alleviation. Surveys have shown that while many Americans support a strong military, there is also significant concern about the lack of investment in social services. This division in public opinion is often mirrored in political debates, with different parties advocating for different spending priorities. However, there is a growing consensus that the current allocation of tax dollars is not sustainable and that a reevaluation of government spending is necessary to address the pressing issues facing the country. Conclusion: the current allocation of tax dollars in the United States reflects a set of priorities that may not align with the needs of its citizens. While national security is undoubtedly important, the disproportionate focus on military spending comes at a significant cost to education, social welfare, and other critical areas. This chapter has explored the historical context of these spending priorities, the impact on society and the economy, and the growing public concern over the need for a reallocation of resources. The following chapters will delve deeper into the consequences of these spending decisions, particularly on veterans, students, and the homeless, and propose solutions for a more balanced and equitable approach to government spending. Chapter 2: The Forgotten Heroes. Veterans in Need. Introduction to the plight of veterans. Veterans have long been regarded as the embodiment of national service and sacrifice. They represent the brave men and women who have put their lives on the line to defend the freedoms and values that define the United States. Yet, upon returning home, many veterans face a harsh reality that is far removed from the heroism celebrated during their service. The transition from military to civilian life is fraught with challenges, including mental health issues, unemployment, and homelessness. Despite the government's promises to support these individuals, the current system often falls short, leaving many veterans to struggle in silence. The role of veterans in national security. The importance of veterans cannot be overstated. These individuals have undergone rigorous training, served in dangerous conditions, and made immense personal sacrifices to protect the country. Whether in combat zones abroad or in support roles at home, veterans have contributed to national security in ways that civilians may never fully comprehend. Their service ensures that the United States remains safe from external threats and that its interests are defended around the world. However, the nature of military service often leaves lasting scars, both physical and psychological. Many veterans return home with injuries, disabilities, or conditions such as post-traumatic stress disorder (PTSD), which can make the transition to civilian life incredibly difficult. The government's responsibility to these veterans should not end when they leave the service. Instead, it should extend into providing the care, support, and resources needed to help them reintegrate into society. Government programs for veterans. An overview: the United States government has established several programs aimed at supporting veterans, including the Department of Veterans Affairs (VA), the GI Bill, and various healthcare and housing initiatives. The VA is tasked with providing healthcare services, disability compensation, and other benefits to veterans. The GI Bill, one of the most well-known programs, offers educational benefits to veterans, allowing them to pursue higher education or vocational training. Despite these programs, many veterans still fall through the cracks. The VA, while well-intentioned, has been plagued by inefficiencies, long wait times, and bureaucratic red tape. Veterans seeking healthcare or disability benefits often face significant delays, which can exacerbate their physical and mental health issues. Additionally, while the GI Bill provides valuable educational opportunities, it does not always address the full spectrum of challenges that veterans face in their transition to civilian life. The reality faced by many veterans. The harsh reality for many veterans is a life filled with uncertainty, hardship, and, in some cases, despair. Mental health issues are particularly prevalent among veterans, with PTSD, depression, and anxiety being common conditions. The trauma experienced during service can lead to long-term psychological struggle, making it difficult for veterans to maintain relationships, hold down jobs, or even function in day-to-day life. Unemployment is another significant issue. While veterans are often highly skilled and disciplined, the transition to the civilian job market can be challenging. Skills acquired in the military may not always translate directly to civilian jobs, and some employers may be hesitant to hire veterans due to misconceptions about their mental health or adaptability. This can lead to underemployment, where veterans are forced to take jobs that do not match their skill level or experience, or unemployment, where they are unable to find work at all. Homelessness among veterans is a particularly alarming problem. On any given night, tens of thousands of veterans are homeless, representing a significant portion of the overall homeless population in the United States. The factors contributing to veteran homelessness are complex, including mental health issues, lack of affordable housing, and insufficient support systems. The fact that those who have served the country are left without a home is a damning indictment of the current system. Case study, Born on the 4th of July. The film Born on the 4th of July, based on the autobiography of Vietnam War veteran Ron Kovic, offers a poignant look at the struggles faced by veterans returning home from war. Kovic, paralyzed from the chest down during combat, returns to a country that is deeply divided over the Vietnam War. Instead of being celebrated as a hero, he faces indifference, neglect, and hostility. The film highlights the physical and emotional toll of war, as well as the failure of the government and society to adequately support veterans. Kovic's story is not unique. Many veterans from various conflicts have experienced similar challenges, finding themselves alienated, struggling with physical and mental health issues, and receiving insufficient support from the government. The film serves as a powerful reminder of the need to address these issues and ensure that no veteran is left behind. Proposed solutions: enhancing support for veterans to address the challenges faced by veterans. A comprehensive approach is needed, one that goes beyond the current programs and addresses the root causes of the issues. Here are several proposed solutions. Improving access to mental health services. The government must prioritize mental health services for veterans, ensuring that they have timely access to the care they need. This includes expanding the availability of mental health professionals within the VA, reducing wait times, and providing greater outreach to veterans who may be reluctant to seek help. Streamlining the VA's operations. The VA needs to be reformed to reduce bureaucracy and improve efficiency. This could involve modernizing its systems, increasing transparency, and holding those in charge accountable for delays and inefficiencies. Expanding job training and placement programs. Veterans should be provided with more robust job training and placement services that align with the current job market. This includes helping veterans translate their military. Chapter 3: Education and Technology, a future unfunded introduction to the role of education in a technological society. Education is the foundation of a prosperous, innovative, and competitive society. As technology continues to advance at a rapid pace, the need for a well-educated and technologically proficient workforce has never been greater. The future of the United States, both economically and socially, depends on how well it prepares its citizens for the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. Unfortunately, the current state of education funding in the United States is insufficient to meet these needs, leaving many students and future professionals unprepared for the demands of a technology-driven world. The current state of education funding. The United States has long prided itself on being a global leader in innovation, but the status is increasingly at risk due to underinvestment in education. Public schools, particularly in low-income and rural areas, often struggle with outdated textbooks, inadequate facilities, and overworked teachers. Despite the critical role that education plays in the nation's future, federal and state funding for education has stagnated or even decreased in real terms over the past few decades. This has led to significant disparities in educational quality and access, with students in underfunded schools receiving a subpar education compared to their peers in wealthier districts. Higher education is also under pressure. While the cost of attending college has skyrocketed, government support for higher education has not kept pace. As a result, students and their families are forced to shoulder an increasing share of the financial burden, leading to a crisis of student debt that affects millions of Americans. The combination of rising costs and inadequate public funding is making higher education less accessible and more exclusive, further entrenching social and economic inequalities. The importance of a technological education in today's global economy. Technological literacy is as essential as reading and writing. The jobs of the future, whether in engineering, healthcare, finance, or even the arts, will require a deep understanding of technology and the ability to adapt to rapidly changing tools and platforms. Yet, many schools are ill-equipped to provide students with the technological education they need. Computer labs are often outdated or non-existent, and many teachers lack the training to effectively integrate technology into their curricula. This lack of investment in technological education is not just a disservice to students, it is a threat to the nation's future. Countries that prioritize education in science, technology, engineering, in mathematics STEM are outpacing the United States in terms of innovation and economic growth. Without a significant increase in funding and resources for technological education, the U.S. risks falling behind in the global race for talent and innovation. The challenges students face: rising tuition costs and student debt for many young Americans. The dream of a college education has become a financial nightmare. The cost of tuition at both public and private colleges has risen dramatically over the past few decades, far outpacing inflation and wage growth. This has left students and their families with few options but to take on significant debt to finance their education. According to recent data, the average student loan debt for graduates in the United States is around $30,000, with many owing much more. The burden of student debt can have long-lasting effects on graduates' lives, influencing their career choices, delaying home ownership, and even affecting mental health. For those who struggle to find well-paying jobs after graduation, the weight of debt can be crushing, leading to financial instability and limited economic mobility. The rising cost of education and the growing student debt crisis are symptoms of a broader problem: the government's failure to adequately invest in higher education as a public good. The disconnect between education and employment. One of the most troubling aspects of the current education system is the disconnect between the skills students acquire in school and the demands of the job market. Despite the significant investment of time and money that students put into their education, many graduates find themselves ill-prepared for the realities of the workforce. This is particularly true in fields related to technology, where the rapid pace of change often leaves curricula outdated by the time students graduate. Employers frequently report a skills gap, where they struggle to find candidates with the necessary technical skills and practical experience. This gap is not just a failure of individual students or institutions. It is a systemic issue that reflects broader problems in how education is funded and structured. Schools and colleges need more resources and flexibility to adapt to the changing demands of the job market, ensuring that students are equipped with the skills they need to succeed. Proposal: increasing investment in education and technological training. To address the challenges facing the education system, a significant increase in investment is needed. This investment should focus on several key areas. Equitable funding for public schools. The federal and state governments must ensure that all public schools, regardless of location or socioeconomic status, receive adequate funding. This includes not only basic educational resources, but also access to up-to-date technology and training for teachers in its use. Expanding access to higher education. To make college more accessible, the government should consider policies such as tuition-free community college, increased Pell Grants, and greater support for public universities. Reducing the cost of higher education will help alleviate the student debt crisis and ensure that all students, regardless of their financial background, have the opportunity to pursue higher education. Investing in technological education. Schools at all levels need more resources to integrate technology into their curricula. This includes funding for modern computer labs, professional development for teachers, and partnerships with technology companies to provide students with hands-on experience in the latest tools and platforms. Aligning education with market needs. Educational institutions should work closely with industry to ensure that curricula are aligned with the needs of the job market. This could involve expanding internships, co-op programs, and apprenticeships, as well as updating curricula to reflect the latest technological developments. Conclusion: the future of the United States depends on its ability to educate and prepare its citizens for the challenges of a rapidly changing world. Yet, the current state of education funding is failing to meet this need, leaving students unprepared and saddled with debt. By increasing investment in education, particularly in technological training, the government can help ensure that all students have the opportunity to succeed and contribute to the nation's future. The following chapters will further explore the implications of the current educational system, particularly the burden of student debt and the challenges faced by graduates in finding meaningful employment. Chapter 4: the pandemic's lasting impact on education and economic mobility. Introduction. The shifting landscape of education. The COVID-19 pandemic of 2020 to 2021 brought unprecedented disruption to the global education system, reshaping the lives of millions of students worldwide. The impact was particularly profound in the United States, where the pandemic exacerbated existing inequalities and introduced new challenges for students at all levels. High school and college students, in particular, faced significant obstacles. from the abrupt shift to online learning to the cancellation of crucial in-person experiences. The long-term effects of these disruptions are still unfolding, but it is clear that the pandemic has had a lasting impact on education and, by extension, on the economic mobility of an entire generation. The immediate impact of the pandemic on education. When schools and universities across the country were forced to close their doors in the spring of 2020, the education system had to pivot quickly to remote learning. While this shift was necessary to protect public health, it came with significant challenges. Many students lacked access to the technology and internet connectivity needed to participate fully in online classes. This digital divide disproportionately affected students from low-income families in rural areas, who were already at a disadvantage compared to their more affluent peers. High school students missed out on crucial social and academic experiences, including in-person classes, extracurricular activities, sports, and standardized testing. These disruptions affected their academic performance, college admissions prospects, and overall mental health. College students faced similar challenges, with many campuses closing, courses moving online, and internships and job opportunities disappearing overnight. The sudden isolation, coupled with the uncertainty about the future, led to increased stress and anxiety among students. The long-term educational consequences. The pandemic's disruption to education has had long-term consequences that are still being felt today. For many students, the loss of in-person instruction led to gaps in learning that have been difficult to overcome. Research shows that students who experience prolonged periods of remote learning during the pandemic have, on average, fallen behind in key areas such as math and reading. These learning losses are likely to have long-term implications for students' academic success, college readiness, and future employment prospects. For high school students, the pandemic also disrupted the traditional college admissions process. Many colleges and universities made standardized tests like the SAT and ACT optional for admissions, leading to a more holistic approach to evaluating applicants. While this change has been welcomed by some, it has also introduced new uncertainties into an already competitive process. Students who relied on strong test scores to bolster their applications may have found themselves at a disadvantage, while others may have struggled to highlight their achievements in the absence of extracurricular activities and in-person experiences. The economic impact on college students and graduates. The economic impact of the pandemic on college students and recent graduates has been profound. The sudden closure of campuses and the shift to online learning disrupted many students' plans, forcing them to reconsider their education and career paths. For those nearing graduation, the job market became far more uncertain, with many companies implementing hiring freezes, reducing internships, or even rescinding job offers. As a result, many recent graduates have found themselves struggling to enter the workforce at a time when job opportunities are scarce. The economic downturn caused by the pandemic has hit young workers particularly hard, with unemployment rates among recent graduates significantly higher than those for older, more established workers. This has led to increased financial insecurity and has forced many graduates to delay key life milestones, such as buying a home or starting a family. Student debt in the post-pandemic era. The issue of student debt, already a significant burden for many, has been further complicated by the pandemic. As tuition costs continued to rise, many students were forced to take on additional loans to cover the costs of their education, even as the quality of that education may have been diminished by the shift to online learning. The federal government introduced temporary measures, such as pausing student loan repayments, to alleviate some of the financial pressure on borrowers. However, these measures were only temporary, and the underlying issues of rising tuition costs and the burden of student debt remain unresolved. For many graduates, the combination of a weak job market and mounting student debt has created a precarious financial situation. Unable to find well-paying jobs, many are struggling to make ends meet while also repaying their student loans. This financial strain has long-term implications for economic mobility, as graduates are forced to delay or forego important investments in their future, such as buying a home, saving for retirement, or pursuing further education. The psychological impact of the pandemic on students cannot be overlooked. The abrupt transition to remote learning, coupled with the isolation and uncertainty of the pandemic, took a significant toll on students' mental health. Anxiety, depression, and stress levels increased dramatically, with many students struggling to cope with the new reality. For high school students, the disruption to their social lives and academic routines added to the sense of loss and disorientation. College students, who often rely on campus resources and social networks for support, found themselves cut off from these vital lifelines. The long-term effects of this psychological toll are still being studied, but it is clear that the pandemic has left many students feeling disengaged and disconnected from their education. This disengagement can have lasting consequences, affecting students' motivation, academic performance, and overall well-being. The role of technology in shaping the future of education. The pandemic also accelerated the adoption of technology in education, leading to a rapid expansion of online learning platforms and digital tools. While this shift was necessary to continue education during lockdowns, it also highlighted the potential and limitations of technology in the classroom. On one hand, technology has the ability to make education more accessible, flexible, and personalized. On the other hand, the reliance on digital platforms during the pandemic exposed significant inequities in access to technology and the internet, as well as challenges in maintaining student engagement and learning outcomes. As the world moves beyond the pandemic, the role of technology in education will continue to evolve. Schools and universities are likely to adopt a hybrid model, combining in-person and online learning to offer more flexibility and cater to diverse student needs. However, it is essential to address the digital divide and ensure that all students have the tools and support they need to succeed in this new educational landscape. Proposal: addressing the educational and economic fallout of the pandemic. To mitigate the long-term impact of the pandemic on students, several key actions are necessary to urgent support for learning recovery. Schools should implement targeted programs to help students catch up on the learning they missed during the pandemic. This could include extended school years, summer programs, and additional tutoring resources, particularly for students in low-income and underserved communities. Mental health services for students. Schools and universities must prioritize mental health services for students, providing counseling, support groups, and other resources to help them cope with the psychological impact of the pandemic. Increasing access to mental health care is crucial for addressing the widespread anxiety and depression that many students are experiencing. Addressing the student debt crisis. The federal government should explore long-term solutions to the student debt crisis, including expanding loan forgiveness programs, reducing interest rates on student loans, and increasing funding for grants and scholarships to reduce the need for borrowing. Expanding access to technology to ensure that all students can benefit from the opportunities offered by digital learning. The government should invest in expanding access to high-speed internet and providing students with the necessary devices and digital literacy training. Conclusion: the COVID-19 pandemic has left an indelible mark on the education system and the economic prospects of millions of students. The challenges faced by high school and college students during this time have highlighted the need for significant reform and investment in education. By addressing the learning gaps, mental health needs, and financial burdens that have emerged from the pandemic, the United States can help ensure that this generation of students is not defined by the disruptions they experienced, but rather by their resilience and ability to overcome adversity. The following chapters will further explore the broader implications of government spending priorities, particularly in relation to veterans and the homeless, and propose comprehensive solutions for building a more equitable and prosperous society. Chapter 5: The Neglect of Veterans. A national disgrace to the sacrifices of veterans. The men and women who serve in the United States military make immense sacrifices in defense of their country. From enduring the physical and emotional toll of combat to spending months or even years away from their families, these individuals willingly put their lives on the line to protect the freedoms and values that Americans hold dear. However, despite their service and sacrifice, many veterans return home to face a harsh reality, a system that often fails to provide them with the care and support they need and deserve. The reality of veterans' lives after service. For many veterans, the transition from military to civilian life is fraught with challenges. These challenges range from finding employment and housing to accessing healthcare and mental health services. While some veterans are able to reintegrate successfully, many others struggle with issues such as unemployment, homelessness, and untreated physical and mental health conditions. One of the most significant issues facing veterans is the high rate of homelessness within this population. On any given night, tens of thousands of veterans are homeless, many of them living on the streets or in shelters. This is a disgrace in a country that claims to honor its veterans. The causes of veteran homelessness are complex and multifaceted, but they often include a lack of affordable housing, limited access to healthcare, and inadequate support services. Additionally, many veterans struggle with mental health issues such as post-traumatic stress disorder (PTSD) and substance abuse, which can make it difficult for them to maintain stable housing and employment. The mental health crisis among veterans. The mental health of veterans is another critical issue that has not received the attention it deserves. PTSD, depression, anxiety, and other mental health disorders are common among veterans, particularly those who have experienced combat. These conditions can have a profound impact on veterans' lives, affecting their ability to work, maintain relationships, and enjoy a good quality of life. Unfortunately, many veterans do not receive the mental health care they need, either because of barriers to access, stigma, or a lack of resources. The consequences of untreated mental health issues can be devastating. Veterans with untreated PTSD or depression are at a higher risk of suicide, and the suicide rate among veterans is significantly higher than that of the general population. Every day, an estimated 17 veterans die by suicide in the United States, a tragic reminder of the failure to adequately address the mental health needs of those who have served. The failure of the Veterans Affairs VA system. The Department of Veterans Affairs, the VAC, is the federal agency responsible for providing healthcare, benefits, and other services to veterans. While the VAC system has made strides in recent years, it continues to face significant challenges. Long wait times for appointments, bureaucratic inefficiencies, and a shortage of mental health professionals are just a few of the issues that plague the VA system. These problems have been well documented and have led to widespread frustration and disillusionment among veterans. One of the most glaring failures of the VA system is its inability to provide timely and effective care for veterans with mental health issues. Despite increased awareness of the mental health crisis among veterans, many still struggle to access the care they need. This is partly due to a shortage of mental health professionals within the VA system, as well as the complex and often confusing process of navigating the VA's bureaucracy. Additionally, the VA has been criticized for its handling of disability claims. Many veterans face lengthy delays in having their disability claims processed, leaving them without the financial support they need to cover basic living expenses. These delays can be especially detrimental for veterans who are unable to work due to service-related injuries or illnesses. The economic struggles of veterans' unemployment and underemployment are significant issues for many veterans, particularly those who have recently transitioned out of the military. Despite their skills and experience, many veterans struggle to find meaningful employment that allows them to support themselves and their families. This is partly due to the challenges of translating military experience into civilian job qualifications, as well as discrimination and stereotypes about veterans in the workplace. Veterans who do find employment often earn less than their civilian counterparts, particularly in the years immediately following their transition out of the military. This income gap can have long-term effects on veterans' financial stability and economic mobility. For veterans with disabilities or those who struggle with mental health issues, the challenge of finding and maintaining employment is even greater. The economic struggles of veterans are compounded by the fact that many do not receive the full benefits to which they are entitled. The VA system's inefficiencies, coupled with a lack of awareness about available benefits, means that many veterans miss out on crucial financial support. This can leave them vulnerable to financial hardship, particularly in the face of medical bills or other unexpected expenses. Proposal: comprehensive support for veterans. To address the issues facing veterans, a comprehensive and coordinated approach is needed. This approach should include the following key components. Improved access to mental health care. The VA must prioritize mental health care, ensuring that all veterans have access to timely and effective treatment. This includes increasing the number of mental health professionals within the VA system, expanding telehealth services, and reducing the stigma associated with seeking mental health care. Housing support for homeless veterans. The federal government should increase funding for programs that provide housing and support services to homeless veterans. This includes expanding the availability of affordable housing, providing financial assistance for rent and utilities, and offering case management and other support services to help veterans maintain stable housing. Streamline disability claims process. The VA must work to reduce the backlog of disability claims and ensure that veterans receive the benefits they are entitled to in a timely manner. This may involve simplifying the claims process, increasing staffing levels, and using technology to improve efficiency. Job training and employment support. Veterans need more support in transitioning to the civilian workforce. This includes expanding job training programs, offering career counseling, and providing incentives for employers to hire veterans. Additionally, efforts should be made to educate employers about the value of hiring veterans and to combat discrimination in the workplace. Comprehensive financial assistance. The government should provide additional financial support to veterans, particularly those who are struggling with unemployment, underemployment, or financial hardship. This could include expanding eligibility for unemployment benefits, providing direct financial assistance to veterans in need, and increasing funding for programs that offer financial counseling and support. Conclusion: the neglect of veterans is a national disgrace that must be addressed with urgency and compassion. These men and women have served their country with honor, and they deserve to be treated with the same level of respect and care when they return home. By addressing the mental health crisis, providing stable housing, ensuring access to benefits, and supporting veterans in their transition to civilian life, the United States can begin to right the wrongs that have been done to those who have served. The following chapters will continue to explore the broader implications of government spending priorities, particularly in relation to education, homelessness, and economic inequality, and propose comprehensive solutions for building a more equitable and prosperous society. Chapter 6: The Consequences of Wealth Concentration and the Need for Progressive Taxation. Introduction. The disparity of wealth in America. The United States is one of the wealthiest nations in the world, yet it is also marked by profound economic inequality. A small fraction of the population holds the majority of the country's wealth, while millions of Americans struggle to make ends meet. This concentration of wealth in the hands of a few has far-reaching consequences, not only for those living in poverty, but for society as a whole. The resistance from some political factions, particularly conservatives, to more progressive taxation measures exacerbates this inequality and hinders efforts to address poverty and reduce crime. Understanding the implications of wealth concentration and the potential benefits of taxing the wealthy more heavily is essential for building a more equitable society. The concentration of wealth and its impacts in the United States. Wealth is increasingly concentrated among the top 1% of the population. According to data from the Federal Reserve, the top 1% of households in the U.S. hold more wealth than the entire bottom 90% combined. This concentration of wealth has been growing for decades, driven by factors such as tax policies that favor the rich, wage stagnation for the middle class, and the increasing influence of corporations and wealthy individuals in politics. The consequences of this wealth concentration are profound. When a small fraction of the population controls the majority of resources, it leads to a range of social and economic problems. One of the most significant impacts is the perpetuation of poverty and economic inequality. Those at the bottom of the economic ladder have limited access to opportunities for upward mobility, such as quality education, healthcare, and affordable housing. This lack of access traps many people in a cycle of poverty, making it difficult for them to improve their circumstances. Furthermore, the concentration of wealth undermines the democratic process. Wealthy individuals and corporations can exert disproportionate influence over political decisions, often shaping policies in ways that protect and enhance their wealth rather than serving the broader public interest. This influence can lead to the erosion of public trust in government institutions and a sense of disillusionment among the general population. The case for progressive taxation. The idea that those who earn more should pay a higher percentage of their income in taxes is a key tool for addressing wealth inequality. By taxing the wealthy at higher rates, governments can generate the revenue needed to fund social programs, infrastructure, and public services that benefit everyone, particularly those in lower income brackets. However, the notion of raising taxes on the wealthy is often met with resistance, particularly from conservative politicians and their constituents. One of the common arguments against progressive taxation is the belief that higher taxes on the wealthy would stifle economic growth and discourage investment. However, research suggests that this is not the case. Studies have shown that moderate increases in tax rates on the wealthy do not significantly impact economic growth or investment. In fact, higher taxes on the wealthy can lead to more equitable economic growth by funding initiatives that boost consumer demand and create jobs. Another argument often used by conservatives is that the wealthy already pay a significant share of taxes and that further increases would be unfair. While it is true that the wealthy pay a large share of federal income taxes, it is important to consider the overall tax burden, which includes payroll taxes, state and local taxes, and other forms of taxation. When all taxes are considered, the U.S. tax system is less progressive than it appears, with many middle and low-income households paying a larger share of their income in taxes than the wealthy. Moreover, the argument that higher taxes on the wealthy would be unfair ignores the broader context of economic inequality and the benefits that the wealthy receive from living in a stable, well-functioning society. The wealthy benefit disproportionately from public investments in education, infrastructure, and the rule of law, which provide the foundation for economic success. As such, it is reasonable to expect those who have benefited the most from the system to contribute more to its maintenance and improvement. Taxing the wealthy to reduce crime and poverty. One of the most compelling reasons for increasing taxes on the wealthy is the potential to reduce poverty and, by extension, crime. Research has consistently shown that poverty and economic inequality are significant drivers of crime. When people lack access to basic necessities, such as food, housing, and health care, they are more likely to engage in criminal activities as a means of survival. By reducing poverty through targeted social programs funded by progressive taxation, society can address some of the root causes of crime. In addition to reducing poverty, taxing the wealthy more heavily could also fund initiatives aimed at improving education, job training, and employment opportunities for those in poverty-stricken communities. By investing in these areas, the government can help to break the cycle of poverty and provide individuals with the tools they need to build better lives for themselves and their families. This, in turn, can lead to a reduction in crime rates, as people are less likely to turn to illegal activities when they have viable alternatives for supporting themselves. The detriment of extreme wealth inequality. Extreme wealth inequality is not just a moral issue, it is also detrimental to the health of the economy and society as a whole. When wealth is concentrated in the hands of a few, it limits economic mobility and creates a rigid class structure that stifles innovation and entrepreneurship. Wealth inequality can also lead to social unrest, as those who feel left behind become increasingly disillusioned with the system and may resort to protest or other forms of resistance. Moreover, wealth inequality has been linked to a range of negative health outcomes. Research has shown that countries with higher levels of income inequality tend to have poorer health outcomes, higher levels of stress, and lower life expectancy. This is partly because economic inequality leads to disparities in access to healthcare, education, and other essential services. In the long run, extreme wealth inequality can threaten the stability of society. When the majority of people feel that the system is rigged against them, it can lead to a breakdown in social cohesion and trust. This can manifest in various ways, from increased crime rates to political polarization and the erosion of democratic norms. Proposal: implementing a more progressive tax system. To address the issues of wealth inequality and its negative impacts on society, the U.S. must implement a more progressive tax system. This could include the following measures. Increase income tax rates for the wealthiest. The federal government should increase income tax rates for the highest earners, particularly those in the top 1%. This could involve reinstating higher tax brackets that were reduced in recent tax cuts, as well as introducing new brackets for ultra-high earners. Implement a wealth tax, which would tax the net worth of individuals above a certain threshold, could help to reduce extreme wealth concentration. This tax would apply to assets such as stocks, real estate, and other investments, and would target the wealthiest individuals and families. Close tax loopholes. The government should work to close tax loopholes that allow the wealthy to avoid paying their fair share. This includes eliminating deductions and credits that disproportionately benefit high-income earners, as well as cracking down on offshore tax havens and other forms of tax avoidance. Increase estate taxes. The estate tax, which applies to the transfer of wealth from one generation to the next, should be strengthened to prevent the accumulation of dynastic wealth. This could involve lowering the exemption threshold and increasing the tax rate for large estates. Use revenue to fund anti-poverty programs. The revenue generated from these taxes should be used to fund programs aimed at reducing poverty and economic inequality. This could include expanding access to healthcare, education, and affordable housing, as well as providing direct financial assistance to those in need. Conclusion: the concentration of wealth in the hands of a few is one of the most pressing issues facing the United States today. While conservatives often argue against progressive taxation, the evidence shows that taxing the wealthy more heavily would not only be fair, but also beneficial for society as a whole. By using tax revenue to fund programs that address poverty and economic inequality, the government can help to create a more just and equitable society, reduce crime, and promote long-term economic stability. The following chapters will continue to explore the broader implications of government spending priorities, particularly in relation to education, veterans, and the homeless, and propose comprehensive solutions for building a more equitable and prosperous society. Chapter 7: The Plight of the Homeless and Poverty-Stricken. A critical examination of the persistent crisis of homelessness and homelessness and poverty are persistent and pervasive issues in the United States, affecting millions of individuals and families. Despite the country's wealth and resources, the systemic failure to adequately address these issues has led to a situation where many people are left without the basic necessities of life. This chapter examines the root causes of homelessness and poverty, the effectiveness of current interventions, and the broader societal impacts of neglecting these issues. It also explores how a more focused and compassionate approach to addressing homelessness and poverty could lead to significant improvements in both social and economic outcomes. Understanding homelessness, causes, and consequences. Homelessness is a multifaceted issue with a range of contributing factors. Key causes of homelessness include lack of affordable housing. One of the primary drivers of homelessness is the lack of affordable housing. As housing costs rise, many low-income individuals and families find themselves unable to keep up with rent or mortgage payments. This issue is exacerbated in urban areas where housing demand is high, leading to a shortage of affordable options. Economic instability, including job loss, underemployment, and low wages, contributes to homelessness. Many people who experience financial hardship due to job loss or other factors find themselves unable to afford basic necessities, leading to eviction and, eventually, homelessness. Mental health and substance abuse. Mental health issues and substance abuse are significant factors in homelessness. Individuals struggling with these challenges may find it difficult to maintain stable housing and employment. Additionally, the lack of adequate mental health and substance abuse treatment services can exacerbate these issues. Systemic inequities. Systemic issues such as racial and gender discrimination, as well as inequities in access to education and healthcare, contribute to higher rates of homelessness among marginalized communities. For example, people of color, women, and LGBTQ+ individuals are disproportionately affected by homelessness. The current state of homelessness in the U.S. Of recent estimates, over 600,000 people are experiencing homelessness in the United States on any given night. This includes individuals living on the streets, in shelters, and in temporary housing. The homeless population is diverse, including families with children, veterans, and individuals who have experienced domestic violence or other forms of trauma. Current efforts to address homelessness include a range of services and programs, such as emergency shelters, transitional housing, and supportive housing. However, these programs are often underfunded and insufficient to meet the needs of the growing homeless population. The lack of affordable housing and supportive services means that many people are left in temporary or inadequate living conditions. The impact of poverty on society. Poverty has wide-ranging effects on individuals and society as a whole. Key impacts include health outcomes. Poverty is strongly associated with poor health outcomes. Individuals living in poverty are more likely to experience chronic health conditions, such as diabetes and hypertension, and have limited access to healthcare services. This results in higher healthcare costs and reduced quality of life. Educational attainment. Poverty affects educational opportunities and outcomes. Children from low-income families often attend underfunded schools and face barriers to academic success. This can perpetuate the cycle of poverty, as individuals with lower levels of education are less likely to secure well-paying jobs. Crime and safety. There is a well-documented link between poverty and crime. Economic hardship can lead to increased crime rates as individuals may turn to illegal activities out of necessity. Addressing poverty through social programs and economic development can help reduce crime and improve community safety. Economic inefficiency. Poverty represents a significant economic inefficiency. When people are unable to fully participate in the economy due to lack of resources or opportunities, it limits overall economic growth and productivity. Investing in poverty reduction can lead to a more dynamic and prosperous economy. Current interventions and their limitation efforts to address homelessness and poverty include various federal, state, and local programs. These include Affordable Housing Initiative, programs such as the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit (LIC) and Housing Choice Vouchers aim to increase the availability of affordable housing. While these programs have had some success, they often fall short of meeting the demand. Homeless assistance programs. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development HUD funds a range of programs to assist the homeless, including emergency shelters and transitional housing. However, these programs are often underfunded and face significant challenges in addressing the root causes of homelessness. Social safety net programs. Programs such as Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program (SNAP) and Temporary Assistance for Needy Families (TANF) provide financial assistance and support to low-income individuals and families. While these programs offer crucial support, they are often limited in scope and may not address all aspects of poverty. Proposal: a comprehensive approach to reducing homelessness and poverty. To effectively address homelessness and poverty, a comprehensive and integrated approach is needed. This approach should include expanding affordable housing. Increasing the supply of affordable housing is essential for reducing homelessness. This could involve expanding funding for housing programs, incentivizing the development of affordable housing, and implementing policies to control housing costs. Investing in supportive services. Providing supportive services such as mental health and substance abuse treatment, job training, and financial counseling is crucial for helping individuals overcome the barriers to stable housing and employment. Enhancing economic opportunities. Creating economic opportunities for low-income individuals through job training programs, education, and support for small businesses can help reduce poverty. Investing in education and workforce development can also improve long-term economic outcomes. Strengthening the social safety net. Expanding and improving social safety net programs can provide more comprehensive support to those in need. This includes increasing funding for programs like SNAP and TANF, as well as exploring new forms of assistance such as universal basic income. Addressing systemic inequities. Tackling systemic issues such as racial and gender discrimination is essential for reducing poverty and homelessness. This involves implementing policies that promote equity and inclusion in areas such as education, employment, and housing. Homelessness and poverty are urgent issues that demand a compassionate and effective response. The current approaches to addressing these problems are often inadequate and fail to address the root causes of economic hardship. By implementing a comprehensive approach that includes expanding affordable housing, investing in supportive services, enhancing economic opportunities, strengthening the social safety net, and addressing systemic inequities, the United States can make significant progress in reducing homelessness and poverty. The following chapters will continue to explore the broader implications of government spending priorities, particularly in relation to education, veterans, and economic inequality, and propose solutions for building a more equitable and prosperous society. Chapter 8: Education Inequality and its Long-Term Effects. Introduction. The state of education in America's education is a fundamental pillar of a prosperous society. It is widely recognized as a key driver of individual success, economic mobility, and societal advancement. However, the American education system is marked by significant inequalities that affect students' opportunities and outcomes. These disparities are often influenced by factors such as geographic location, socioeconomic status, and racial background. This chapter examines the current state of education inequality in the United States, its long-term effects on individuals and society, and potential solutions for creating a more equitable educational system. The disparities in the education system. Education inequality manifests in various ways, including differences in school funding, access to resources, and educational outcomes. Key factors contributing to education inequality include funding disparities. Public schools in the United States are primarily funded through local property taxes. This system creates significant disparities in funding between schools in affluent areas and those in low-income communities. Schools in wealthier neighborhoods often have access to better facilities, more experienced teachers, and a wider range of extracurricular activities. In contrast, schools in poorer areas may struggle with inadequate facilities, outdated materials, and limited resources. Access to quality teachers. Teacher quality is a crucial determinant of student success. However, schools in disadvantaged areas often face challenges in attracting and retaining experienced and highly qualified teachers. This can result in larger class sizes, less individualized instruction, and lower overall educational quality. Curriculum and extracurricular opportunities. Students in affluent schools frequently have access to advanced coursework, specialized programs, and a broad range of extracurricular activities. In contrast, students in underfunded schools may have limited access to advanced classes and extracurricular opportunities, which can impact their academic achievement and college readiness. Socioeconomic and racial inequities. Socioeconomic status and race play a significant role in education inequality. Students from low-income families and marginalized racial and ethnic groups often face additional barriers to educational success, such as lack of access to early childhood education, food insecurity, and unstable housing. These factors can contribute to lower academic achievement and higher dropout rates. The long-term effects of education inequality. Education inequality has far-reaching effects on individuals and society. Key long-term impacts include economic mobility. Education is closely linked to economic mobility. Students who receive a high-quality education are more likely to attain higher levels of education and secure well-paying jobs. Conversely, students from disadvantaged backgrounds who attend underfunded schools may face challenges in accessing higher education and employment opportunities. This perpetuates the cycle of poverty and limits upward mobility. Workforce readiness. The quality of education affects workforce readiness. Students who receive a strong education are better equipped with the skills and knowledge needed to succeed in the job market. Education inequality can result in a workforce that is less prepared for the demands of the modern economy, leading to skills gaps and reduced economic productivity. Social and civic engagement. Education also plays a role in fostering social and civic engagement. Students who receive a well-rounded education are more likely to be informed, engaged citizens who participate in community activities and contribute to societal progress. Inequities in education can lead to lower levels of civic participation and weaken the social fabric. Health and well-being. Education is linked to health outcomes. Individuals with higher levels of education are generally healthier and have better access to healthcare. Inequities in education can contribute to disparities in health outcomes, with students from disadvantaged backgrounds experiencing higher rates of chronic health conditions and lower life expectancy. Current efforts to address education inequality. Several initiatives aim to address education inequality and improve outcomes for disadvantaged students. These include education funding reforms. Efforts to reform education funding aim to reduce disparities between wealthy and low-income schools. This can include increasing state and federal funding for schools in underserved areas, implementing equitable funding formulas, and providing targeted support for high-needs schools. Teacher recruitment and retention. Programs to recruit and retain high-quality teachers in underserved schools can help improve educational outcomes. This can include offering competitive salaries, providing professional development opportunities, and creating incentives for teachers to work in high-need areas. Early childhood education. Expanding access to early childhood education can help address disparities before students enter the K-12 system. High-quality preschool programs can provide a strong foundation for learning and help mitigate the effects of socioeconomic disadvantages. Support services. Providing additional support services, such as tutoring, counseling, and after-school programs, can help address the needs of disadvantaged students. These services can support academic achievement and provide a more holistic approach to education. Proposal. Strategies for a more equitable education system. To create a more equitable education system, the following strategies should be considered. Reform funding mechanisms. Reforming the funding system to ensure more equitable distribution of resources is crucial. This could involve increasing state and federal investments in education, implementing funding formulas that account for student needs, and addressing disparities in property tax-based funding. Enhance teacher support. Investing in teacher training, professional development, and retention programs can help improve teacher quality in underserved schools. Providing support and resources for teachers can enhance instructional quality and student outcomes. Expand access to quality early education. Increasing funding for early childhood education programs and expanding access to high-quality preschool can help level the playing field for students from disadvantaged backgrounds. Strengthen support services. Expanding support services such as academic tutoring, mental health counseling, and enrichment programs can address barriers to student success and provide additional resources for those in need. Address systemic inequities. Tackling broader systemic issues, such as racial and socioeconomic inequities, is essential for creating a more equitable education system. This includes addressing disparities in housing, healthcare, and social services that impact educational outcomes. Education inequality is a significant challenge that has long-term implications for individuals and society. Addressing this issue requires a comprehensive approach that includes reforming funding mechanisms, enhancing teacher support, expanding early childhood education, and providing additional support services. By investing in education and addressing systemic inequities, the United States can create a more equitable education system that provides all students with the opportunities they need to succeed. The following chapters will continue to explore the broader implications of government spending priorities and propose solutions for building a more just and equitable society. Chapter 9. Addressing the needs of veterans, prioritizing support for those who serve. The importance of supporting veterans. Veterans who have served in the military face unique challenges when transitioning to civilian life. Despite their significant contributions to national security and service, many veterans encounter difficulties such as inadequate healthcare, financial instability, and limited access to essential services. This chapter explores the issues faced by veterans, evaluates the effectiveness of current support systems, and proposes strategies for improving support to ensure that veterans receive the care and resources they deserve. The challenges faced by veterans. Veterans encounter a range of challenges as they transition from military to civilian life. Key issues include healthcare access. Veterans often face difficulties accessing timely and comprehensive healthcare services. The Veterans Health Administration (VA) provides medical care to many veterans, but the system is frequently criticized for long wait times, bureaucratic obstacles, and varying quality of care. Additionally, some veterans may face challenges in accessing specialized care for conditions related to their service, such as PTSD, traumatic brain injury (TBI), and chronic pain. Mental health and PTSD. Mental health issues, including post-traumatic stress disorder (PTSD), depression, and anxiety, are prevalent among veterans. The transition to civilian life can exacerbate these conditions, and veterans may struggle to access mental health services that are both effective and sensitive to their unique experiences. Stigma and lack of awareness about mental health can also deter veterans from seeking help. Financial instability. Many veterans face financial instability due to difficulties finding stable employment or underemployment. While veterans may have valuable skills and experience, translating these into civilian job opportunities can be challenging. Additionally, veterans may encounter issues with benefits and compensation, leading to financial strain. Housing and homelessness. Homelessness is a significant issue among veterans, with a notable percentage of the homeless population being former service members. Factors such as economic hardship, mental health issues, and the lack of affordable housing contribute to this problem. Education and training. Veterans often use educational benefits provided by programs such as the GI Bill to pursue higher education and vocational training. However, navigating the education system and accessing benefits can be complex and confusing. Additionally, some veterans may face challenges integrating into academic environments and applying their military experience to civilian careers. Current support systems for veterans. Several programs and initiatives are designed to support veterans, including Veterans Health Administration (VA). The VA provides healthcare services to eligible veterans, including primary care, specialty care, and mental health services. The VA also offers various programs to address specific needs, such as the VA Home Loans Program and the Veterans Crisis Line. Employment and training programs. The Department of Veterans Affairs offers programs to assist veterans with finding employment and vocational training. This includes the Transition Assistance Program (TAP), which provides job search resources, career counseling, and training. Homelessness prevention and housing programs. Programs such as the HUD-VASH Housing and Urban Development Veterans Affairs Supportive Housing Program aim to address veteran homelessness by providing rental assistance and supportive services. Educational benefits. The GI Bill and other educational benefits provide financial support for veterans pursuing higher education and vocational training. These benefits are intended to help veterans gain new skills and achieve career goals. Evaluating the effectiveness of current support systems. While existing support systems for veterans provide valuable services, they face several limitations. Access and quality of care. The VA, despite its critical role, has faced scrutiny for issues related to access and quality of care. Wait times for appointments, limited availability of specialized services, and variability in care quality are significant concerns. Coordination of services. The fragmentation of services across different agencies and programs can make it challenging for veterans to navigate the system and access the full range of support available. Improved coordination and streamlined processes are needed to enhance service delivery. Mental health support. Despite increased awareness of mental health issues among veterans, stigma and barriers to accessing care persist. More effective and targeted mental health support, along with efforts to reduce stigma, are necessary to address these challenges. Employment and financial stability. While employment and training programs offer important resources, many veterans still face difficulties finding stable and well-paying jobs. Enhanced support for translating military skills to civilian careers and addressing barriers to employment is needed. Proposal. Enhancing support for veterans. To better support veterans and address the challenges they face, the following strategies should be considered. Improve healthcare access and quality. Addressing issues within the VA by increasing funding, reducing wait times, and improving care quality is essential. Expanding telehealth services and integrating mental health care with primary care can also improve access and outcomes. Enhance mental health services. Expanding mental health services tailored to veterans' needs, including specialized PTSD and trauma care, can provide more effective support. Initiatives to reduce stigma and promote mental health awareness among veterans are also crucial. Strengthen employment support. Improving employment services by offering personalized career counseling, skills translation assistance, and employer partnerships can help veterans secure stable employment. Expanding programs that support entrepreneurship and small business ownership among veterans can also create additional opportunities. Address housing and homelessness. Increasing funding for homeless prevention programs and expanding access to affordable housing for veterans can help reduce homelessness. Supportive services, such as case management and financial counseling, can assist veterans in maintaining stable housing. Simplify access to educational benefits. Streamlining the process for accessing educational benefits and providing comprehensive guidance on using these benefits can improve veterans' educational outcomes. Partnerships with educational institutions to support veterans' transition into academic environments can also be beneficial. Conclusion. Veterans who have served their country deserve comprehensive support as they transition to civilian life. While existing programs provide valuable resources, there are significant opportunities to enhance support for veterans by addressing gaps in healthcare, mental health services, employment, housing, and education. By implementing targeted improvements and ensuring effective coordination of services, the United States can better meet the needs of its veterans and honor their service with the care and respect they deserve. The following chapter will continue to explore the broader implications of government spending priorities and propose solutions for creating a more equitable and supportive society. Chapter 10: Building a More Equitable Society, Integrating Solutions Across Government Spending Priorities. The need for comprehensive reform. The issues of education inequality, veteran support, economic inequality, and homelessness are interlinked and deeply rooted in systemic challenges. Addressing these problems requires a comprehensive approach that integrates solutions across various government spending priorities. This chapter synthesizes the insights from previous chapters and proposes a holistic strategy for creating a more equitable society. By aligning policies and funding to address these interconnected issues, we can work towards a more just and prosperous nation. The interconnected nature of key issues. Understanding the interconnectedness of education inequality, veteran support, economic disparity, and homelessness is crucial for effective reform. These issues often exacerbate one another and contribute to broader societal challenges. Education inequality and economic mobility. Education inequality limits opportunities for economic mobility, perpetuating cycles of poverty and contributing to broader economic disparities. Students from disadvantaged backgrounds face barriers to high-quality education, which impacts their future earning potential and job prospects. Veteran support and economic stability. Veterans who struggle with inadequate support, mental health issues, and financial instability are at risk of falling into poverty or homelessness. Ensuring robust support for veterans, including healthcare, employment, and housing, can help mitigate these risks and promote stability. Economic inequality and homelessness. Economic inequality contributes to homelessness by limiting access to affordable housing and economic opportunities. Addressing income inequality and improving access to housing and support services can help reduce homelessness and promote economic stability. Homelessness and social services. Addressing homelessness requires a multifaceted approach that includes improving access to social services, such as healthcare, education, and job training. By integrating these services, we can better support individuals in overcoming homelessness and achieving long-term stability. Integrative solutions for a more equitable society create a more equitable society. A holistic approach that integrates solutions across government spending priorities is essential. The following strategies provide a framework for achieving this goal. Reform funding mechanisms for education and social services. Equitable funding for education and social services is critical for addressing disparities. Reforms should include increasing federal and state funding for under-resourced schools, implementing equitable funding formulas, and expanding support for social services such as healthcare, housing, and job training. Enhance coordination between agencies. Improving coordination between agencies and programs that support veterans, low-income families, and individuals experiencing homelessness can streamline access to services and improve outcomes. This includes creating integrated service delivery models and reducing bureaucratic barriers. Invest in preventive measures and early intervention. Focusing on preventive measures and early intervention can help address issues before they escalate. This includes expanding access to early childhood education, mental health services, and job training programs. By investing in prevention, we can reduce the long-term costs associated with poverty, homelessness, and educational inequality. Promote economic equity through progressive taxation. Implementing progressive taxation policies that ensure higher contributions from those with greater financial resources can help address economic disparities. Increasing taxes on high-income individuals and corporations and using the revenue to fund social programs can reduce inequality and support critical services. Support comprehensive veteran care. Enhancing support for veterans through improved healthcare, mental health services, and employment programs is essential. This includes addressing gaps in the Veterans Health Administration, expanding mental health resources, and providing targeted job training and housing assistance. Address systemic inequities. Tackling systemic inequities related to race, gender, and socioeconomic status is fundamental to creating a more just society. This involves implementing policies that promote equity in education, employment, and housing, and addressing discrimination and barriers that disproportionately affect marginalized communities. Foster community engagement and empowerment. Engaging communities in the development and implementation of solutions can ensure that policies are responsive to local needs and realities. Empowering individuals and communities to participate in decision-making processes can enhance the effectiveness of programs and promote a sense of ownership and accountability. Toward a more just and prosperous society. Creating a more equitable society requires a comprehensive and integrated approach that addresses the interconnected issues of education inequality, veteran support, economic disparity, and homelessness. By reforming funding mechanisms, enhancing coordination between agencies, investing in prevention and early intervention, promoting economic equity through progressive taxation, supporting comprehensive veteran care, addressing systemic inequities, and fostering community engagement, we can work towards a society that provides all individuals with the opportunities and support they need to thrive. Addressing these challenges is not only a moral imperative, but also a practical necessity for building a more just and prosperous nation. By aligning government spending priorities with the goal of reducing disparities and supporting those in need, we can create a society where everyone has the chance to achieve their full potential and contribute to the common good. The following references provide additional resources and evidence to support the proposed strategies and inform ongoing efforts to create a more equitable society.